in my very modest and immediate neighborhood, say 3 or 4 blocks, there are only maybe 2 or 3 luxury vehicles. Now, what do I mean by luxury vehicles? Well, say specifically SUVs or cars that retailed when new for $75,000 and more. But, however, in this same little modest neighborhood, there is a nearly countless amount of luxury branded vehicles. What do I mean by that? Well, specifically many BMW 3 Series, X3s, X1s, Audi Q3, Audi A4, Lexus NX, RX, ES, a couple of Infinitis, and a bunch of these. More specifically, there's a number of Mercedes-Benz B-Class and a lot of these. Mercedes-Benz GLA. Now, based on my observation of the 4 or 5 in my hood, all except one belong to older, retired, empty nester couples. So what that tells me, once more, based on my observation, is that the purchase or lease of a Mercedes-Benz GLA was done as a reward for a lifetime of hard work, raising a family, all of the above. Why a GLA? Well, a number of reasons. It's a crossover, so it's not a sedan. Crossover. I don't want to say SUV, but whatever. It's also affordable. And lastly, and most importantly, the brand association. Yes, because with a Mercedes-Benz, a lot of things are expected. The prestige, the quality, and everything else that goes along with that. Now, it's no secret, and I won't sugarcoat it, but the previous generation GLA, and why not the CLA, despite being extremely popular globally, were some of the cheapest Mercedes-Benz products in recent memory. They had only the logo to do with what is expected from a Mercedes-Benz product. Now, this is the latest generation of the GLA. Not the previous, the latest, the second, okay? So the question is this a better Mercedes-Benz than the previous GLA, or is it more or less the same? You know what happens next, right? We're gonna walk around, we'll take it for a spin, and we will answer that question. Perhaps I could have mentioned styling as well as a reason why people flock to the GLA. And you can see that it's got those crossover / SUV styling hints. Well, you can see them barely because, you know, again, stupid black. But you can see the flared wheel arches, the plastic, the slightly raised right height. I mean, it's nothing more than just a jacked up A-class hatchback, if you will. I mean, overall styling really, really works. The previous generation, despite being cheap, as I described it, it was still a very attractive vehicle, as was and currently is the CLA. Now, base price in the US for a 2021 GLA, $36,230. That is a front wheel drive. If you want all-wheel drive, it's an extra $2,000. In Canada, 4MATIC all-wheel drive is standard, which in part explains the $42,400 base price. Now, what you get for that kind of money? Well, you get twin 7-inch screens, which is kind of cool, with 18-inch wheels, panoramic sunroof, LED lights everywhere, power heated front seats, and a bunch of other features. My tester is not the base model, obviously, and as expected, because it includes a premium package which adds the power tailgate, the twin 10.25-inch screens, which is probably the main reason why you would get the $3,600 and some odd dollar package. Well, that is unless you really need Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It also includes a navigation package, a heated steering wheel, which is a standalone $250 option. Grand total, my GLA 250 4MATIC right here, $48,150. Look, to answer the question, if you want a Benz, that's what you gotta pay, right? You gotta pay extra. But the reason why many empty nesters pick this is because they no longer need to haul around people and things. Because for that price, you can get, for example, a fully loaded Volkswagen Tiguan, for example. But if you're shopping for a GLA, you're probably cross-shopping the X2, Q3, and a UX from Lexus. Anyhow, let's do the usual walk around and mention the power tailgate in the optional package. That reveals about 435 liters of trunk space. I believe it's not entirely wide because of the way the inside here is finished. There is this slight notch in there if you want to fit something bigger, but if you're an avid golfer, maybe you'll get one bag in, you know, on a certain angle. Otherwise, you'll have to put the seat back down. All right. Another advantage to this, say for the empty nesters, is that you actually step into the GLA as opposed to drop into, say, an A-class hatch. So that means that ingress and egress is actually really good. Now you get kind of a good shot of the twin 10.25-inch screens. And the dashboard is lifted or identical to that of the A-Class, the A35 I drove just very recently. So it's fantastic. But here you have an idea of the amount of room that is enormous back here. And you're really sitting square. My knees are completely bent, like at 89 degrees. You could potentially slide 3 across, but 2 would be ideal. And part of that reward, what you want when you buy a Benz, is that you want materials, fit, finish, attention to detail. And, well, the GLA, the 2021 GLA, absolutely delivers on that. There isn't a speck of a mistake or a corner being cut on the inside. Well, there are, but it doesn't look it. This is, after all, a $40,000 Benz. Okay, there are your screens. This might be the best shot right here. Okay, everything in here looks fantastic. Navigating the MBUX system, which can be voice activated with the option package, is just great. HVAC require a glance and you're all set. And then you come down here, you can either use a touch screen or you come down here and select on the pad and move the menus around like that. What else? Drive modes right here. Storage is decent. Can't really complain as far as that's concerned. And look, the dashboard is just fantastic. There's design, there's emotion. Am I getting emotional here? No. And visibility, well, it's kind of cut off here because the base of the A-pillar is super fat, and the block-off plate here for the mirror takes up a lot of space, so can't really see around when you're turning the corner. But hey, that's why you need extra ground clearance, right? I don't know. Steering wheel is lovely. Look, as far as presentation is concerned, it's all Mercedes-Benz, but that wasn't necessarily entirely the issue with the previous generation vehicle. It was the drive. So let's do exactly that. And one of the reasons why I say the previous generation CLA and GLA were cheap was that Benz essentially decided to forego sound deadening, refinement, everything that is associated with the Benz, at least in my opinion and in many other people's opinion. And it's something you will get in, well, some C-Class trims, in some E-Class trims, all the S and a GLS and a GLE, and so on and so forth. Now, the previous GLA it sounded and felt very tinny. There was little to no weight or substance, also applies to the CLA. But this new generation of Mercedes-Benz vehicles have been thoroughly improved. And I can tell you right now, I mean, if you want to stop watching the video, if you've made it this far, thank you. If you want to stop watching the video right now, I'm telling you, this is in fact a better Mercedes-Benz than the old model. See, there you go. It wants to talk to me. It's bored. So it might interrupt us. No, you can't. You can't. Thank you. Where was I? Better, yeah, okay. So GLA 250. 250 is the output, which is 221 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque from 1,400 to 4,000 RPM from a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine.
I'm sorry.
You
but
are
I can't
sorry.
help you with that right now.
Good, thank you. In Canada, as I said, 4MATIC all-wheel drive is standard, and you also get between the wheels and the 4-cylinder engine an 8-speed dual-clutch automated manual transmission. So what that means is that as soon as the light turns green, well, this car is actually crossover car. We agree, right? Is sprightly. It'll do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.7 seconds, and all that torque actually gives you the impression that it's faster than that. But that's, again, based on my observations. I'm pretty sure that's why the people I've noticed drive these vehicles, well, they're not buying for that. Otherwise, they go for a 35 AMG or even a 45, which, anyhow, that's neither here nor there at the moment. Throttle response when you're in, let's just make sure, comfort drive mode is a little bit dulled, but it is perfectly tuned and calibrated for city driving when you're easy on the throttle. Now there is an eco mode, which I have not used, but haven't really found the need to do so, because even in comfort, I'm averaging about 9 liters per 100 kilometers, and 80-something% of my driving so far has been in the city, in my hood. Extended hood, if you will. So 9 liters, I think, is relatively decent. On the highway, the actual numbers are not available for Mercedes-Benz Canada yet, but I'm thinking you could easily do sub 7 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway with this thing. Now, I say it's a better Mercedes-Benz because it is a little bit quieter, and the ride quality is a little bit smoother. This has fully independent suspension, multi-link rear setup in the back. It has the standard 18-inch wheels, but the ride isn't 100% costing, comfortable, cozy, compliant. All those words just start with the letter C. I swear I didn't try that. Anyway, point is, it's still a little bit dry around the edges. And what that kind of does and brings to the surface are a few, I don't know if you can hear that, creaks in some of the plastics. There's some creaks coming from the rear as well. It's not catastrophic, but not in line with what you expect from this. I guess I could say a few words. The 8-speed DCT is wonderful. It's fantastic. It glides from gear to gear, and should you go into your sport drive mode, which I've only done once, well, it kind of dials everything up to 10 3/4, so you have a little bit more fun. The individual drive mode, so far I've not even programmed it. I've not found the need to set that up, because in comfort everything is perfectly set up the way I would want it to be anyhow. The dampers are not adjustable, so nothing would change as far as that's concerned. So to conclude, the driving experience is generally speaking good, but it's not, again, true to Mercedes-Benz form or expectation. I don't know if you can hear that. I just went over a pothole cover, or a manhole cover, and there's some creaking going on, and the car moves a lot more than I would like it to. But it's still a lot less than the previous generation GLA. So what I was saying is that this is nice. It's very nice. But for the average family, if you're thinking you can get away with a GLA to replace your Tucson Ultimate fully loaded or Tiguan Highline or something like that, then absolutely no. You won't get a better ride. You won't get any more interior space. But compared to, say, a Q3 or an X2, it's a difficult call, quite honestly. Definitely better than a UX, unless you truly want the hybrid for the fuel economy, because then you got to get the 250H, and it'll be all-wheel drive. At least there's that. I don't despise the X2, The Q3 is probably the most handsome of the lots. Whether or not you should spend the money for it, it's a little bit more expensive base price than this, maybe $1,000 or so. Okay, I'll try and conclude this time for real. This is nice, nicer than it was, but still not, for me, a true Mercedes-Benz.